If you are the person who checks their work email while lying on a beach in Hawaii, not because your boss demanded it, but because you are genuinely curious about how a project is going. If you have ever looked at a brochure of a retired couple playing golf in Florida and felt a cold shiver of existential dread rather than excitement, or if you're currently watching this and the phrase doing nothing sounds less like a reward and more like a punishment, then I have some very good news for you. You aren't a workaholic. You aren't unable to relax, and you are certainly not broken. You might just be evolutionarily advanced. We tend to think of retirement as the ultimate finish line, the golden period where we finally stop striving and start resting. But the truth is, the human brain was never designed to retire. It was designed to solve problems until the lights go out. Today, we are going to explore the psychological reasons why your refusal to slow down isn't a failure of financial planning, but a triumph of biological vitality. Reason number 1. You are addicted to flow, not labor. Let's be honest, you don't love meetings and you don't love taxes, but you love the challenge. You love that specific feeling when you are so engrossed in a task that time dissolves, your ego vanishes, and you are operating at peak capacity. Psychologists call this the flow state. For a high-functioning brain, work is the most reliable delivery system for flow. Leisure, ironically, is often stressful because it lacks structure. Lying on a couch requires zero skill. Solving a complex problem requires all of it. If you dread retirement, it's because you know instinctively that a life without flow is a life without color. You aren't addicted to your job, you are addicted to the feeling of being alive. Reason number 2. You possess high cognitive reserve. There's a pervasive myth that the brain wears out like a knee joint. We think that if we use it too much, we need to rest it. Neuroscience tells us the exact opposite. The brain is anti-fragile. It gets stronger the more you stress it. You have likely spent your life building what scientists call cognitive reserve, a dense network of neural connections. When you stop using this network, it doesn't just sit there. It begins to prune itself. This is why statistics show that for many people, retirement significantly increases the risk of cognitive decline and mortality. Your brain senses the lack of input and signals the body to shut down. Your desire to keep working is your nervous system fighting for its own survival. Reason number 3. You have shifted from extrinsic to intrinsic motivation. When you were young, you worked for money, for status, or to prove your father wrong. That is extrinsic motivation. It burns dirty and it burns out fast. But if you are still pushing hard in your 40s, 50s, or 60s, your fuel source has likely changed. You are now driven by curiosity, mastery, or a desire to mentor. This is intrinsic motivation. It is a clean, renewable energy source. Retirement is a concept designed for people who hate their jobs. It's an escape hatch, but you don't need an escape hatch because you aren't in a prison. You are in a playground. Reason number 4. Your identity is fused, not compartmentalized. Society tells us we need work-life balance. We're told you are not your job. And for someone working a factory line, that's healthy advice. But for a creative, an entrepreneur, or an intellectual, that advice is nonsense. Psychologists call this identity fusion. Your work isn't something you do. It is an expression of who you are. Asking you to retire is like asking a painter to stop seeing colors or a bird to stop flying. It isn't a task you can clock out of.
To retire from your work would be to retire from yourself. You aren't obsessed, you are integrated. Reason number 5, you understand the blue zone principle. Researchers who study the blue zones, places where people live to be 100 at statistically impossible rates, found a common denominator. In Okinawa, Japan, they call it ikigai. In Nicoya, Costa Rica, they call it plan de vida. It translates roughly to why I wake up in the morning. Notably, none of these cultures have a word for retirement. The concept doesn't exist. The 90-year-olds are still gardening, weaving, or consulting in the village. You understand intuitively that the moment you stop having a purpose, you stop having a future. You aren't working to make money, you are working to buy time. Reason number 6, you crave social relevance, not just socialization. Retirement brochures promise you endless time with friends, but they leave out a crucial detail. Connection is often built around shared struggle and shared goals. When you leave the arena, you lose the tribe. You can only talk about the weather and golf scores for so long. You crave the foxhole camaraderie of working with smart people to solve hard problems. You want your opinion to matter. You want your presence to have weight. The fear of retirement isn't the fear of being alone, it is the fear of being irrelevant, and that is a healthy fear. Reason number 7, you are a mastery seeker. There's a concept called the asymptote of mastery. It means you can get closer and closer to perfection, but you never quite touch it. For the average person, this is frustrating. For you, it is intoxicating. Whether you're a writer, an investor, or a coder, you know that you are better today than you were 10 years ago. You have crystallized intelligence, wisdom, pattern recognition, and intuition. Why would you walk away from the game right when you are finally learning how to play it properly? You don't want to retire because you feel like you're just getting started. Reason number 8, you know that leisure is a false god. We're culturally brainwashed to believe that a life of pure hedonism is the goal. We dream of the endless margarita on the beach, but psychology shows us that humans adapt to pleasure incredibly fast. This is the hedonic treadmill. The margarita tastes great on day 1. By day 7, it's boring. By day 30, it's depressing. You have likely taken a long vacation and felt that itch to get back to the grind. You felt guilty about it, but you shouldn't. You realized a profound truth. Consumption is easy, but creation is satisfying. You choose the pain of the process over the boredom of the result. Reason number 9, you are building a cathedral. In the Middle Ages, stonemasons worked on cathedrals that they knew they would never see finished. They didn't work for the paycheck, they worked for the legacy. If you can't imagine retirement, it is because your timeline is longer than your lifespan. You are building a business, a body of work, or a family legacy that you want to outlast you. Retirement implies that the work is done, but for a cathedral builder, the work is never done. It is passed on. You aren't unable to stop, you are simply unwilling to leave the job half finished. So, the checking emails on vacation, the refusal to play golf, the obsession with new projects, the anxiety about slowing down. You have spent a lot of your life thinking these were signs that you were unable to find peace. You thought you were defective because you couldn't just chill out. But what if you realize that these aren't inability to rest, they are a refusal to die while you are still alive? The word retire comes from the French word retire, which means to withdraw, to retreat to a place of safety.
But you are not built for retreat. You are built for advance. So keep checking the emails, keep starting the companies, keep solving the problems. You don't need to retire from life to enjoy it. Thank you for being here. Subscribe for more.